أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري يا إلهي خذ
All thanks and praises are due to Allah. We praise Him, we thank Him, we seek for His blessings and His benedictions. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves and from the evil of our actions. Whoever Allah guides, none can misguide, and whoever is misguided, none can guide. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and His messenger. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ndako Mijindadi. I am the head of investments at Lotus Capital. Today we're going to have a very short discussion or a series of discussions on financial intelligence. And one of the reasons why we thought it was a good idea to have this discussion is because we realize that as Muslims, this is one area that sometimes we don't seem to pay too much attention to, and we just hope that we can, educate us a bit about finance. And the way I want to approach this is to first start by defining some key concepts or some key words that you're likely to hear in the course of this conversation. So that way I know that we're on the same page. And we're going to talk about just 3 words. So nothing very big and nothing too technical. I'll be defining the concept of money. I'll also be defining the concept of finance or financial intelligence. And then lastly, I'll be defining the concept of wealth. So what is money? Money is what we all know it is, notes and coin. I'm sure some people will say that. But it's important that we have a Islamic perspective of money. So as Muslims, we see money as a means of doing transactions. It's just merely a tool for exchanging goods and paying for services. We don't see money as something that has value in itself. So now, unlike the non-Muslims, they see money as something that has value in itself, and so they can sell money. They can say, I give you 10 naira and you give me 20 naira. So they've treated money as something that has value in and of itself. Now, as Muslims, we don't sell money. We just see money merely as a tool for exchange. So it's important that we understand the concept of money as Muslims. And for me, this is a very good starting point. Secondly, I'd like to explain what finance is. So some people can say money, finance means the same thing. No, it doesn't. There's a distinct difference. So finance is the method or the means or the ways that you manage money. Financial intelligence is the skill in managing money. And so what we're trying to teach everybody here is that skill of managing money, finance. Now lastly, the term that I would like us to clarify is the concept of wealth. What is wealth? Now wealth is abundance. When you have things in abundance, you're considered to be wealthy. Now that abundance can be in terms of children. The abundance can be in terms of money. It could be, in terms of your health, right? So wealth is to have an abundance such that you can meet your immediate needs. So when we say things like wealth creation, what we're saying is, how can you manage money to a point that you have an abundance to meet your needs? Okay? So hopefully we've been able to clarify these 3 key terms. In the course of our conversation, we're likely to be talking about these things: money, finance, and wealth. May Allah make this beneficial. So first of all, when we want to start our journey of financial intelligence or our journey on wealth creation, like everything we do as Muslims, the first step is to purify our intentions. Now, for me, one way of doing this is to understand and remember, or rather to know, that you will account for how you spend your wealth. So the journey of wealth or making money is not something that you do willy-nilly. You should know that wealth or money will become an amana, and you will account for it in front of Allah. Now in the hadith, and this has been graded as Hasan by Sheikh Al-Albani, we're informed that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us that on the day of Qiyamah, we will be asked about our life and how we spent it. We will be asked about our youth and how we used it. We will be asked about our wealth, how we earned it and how we spent it. And we will be asked about our knowledge and how we acted upon it. So we should not have the wrong intentions towards making money. We should not plan to be extravagant. There's no point making money and then trying to be like a rock star or a movie star. That's not the intention we should have. That's not the right intention. Another thing that we can reflect on is Surah Al-Isra, I think verse 26, where Allah says, وَلَا تُبَدِّرْ تَبْدِيرًا. And this means, do not spend wastefully. In the same surah, Allah tells us, إِنَّ الْمُبَدِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ. And this means that those who are wasteful are the brothers of shaitan. So if you have this at the back of your mind, you're likely to have the right intention to approach wealth creation. And why is this important? So we know there are many people, friends, family members who may have coming to a lot of wealth suddenly in terms of inheritance, and in a few months or weeks, everything is gone and they're wretched all of a sudden. And they were probably wasteful. And we know that it's not that they use this money to give sadaqah, because as Muslims we know that giving sadaqah actually increases your wealth. It doesn't deplete your wealth. So it's not that. They just were potentially wasteful. So as a first step to this journey, it's important that we have the right intention for making money. So the next thing, after we have purified our intention, obviously, is to have the right kind of knowledge. And in my line of work, I run into people who are concerned about, whether their source of livelihood is permissible, one of the things that they're doing is permissible or not. And why they're concerned is because, they've been doing these things for a very long time. And what I find is people don't spend enough time or make the effort to understand what is permissible in terms of business transactions and what is impermissible before they start. So I think it's also important, after we have clarified our intention or purified our intention, to have the right knowledge about what is permissible and impermissible about business transactions. Now, one very quick way I can recommend to do this is just by reading a not very lengthy hadith, a section of Sahih Bukhari, Kitab al-Buyu. It has is very elaborate about things like riba, for instance, gambling, speculation, and just different types of transactions that are permissible and impermissible. So spending some time reflecting and gaining this knowledge will be very helpful when you start your journey on wealth creation. Another area of knowledge that I think people should pay attention to is having knowledge about the type of business or the type of transactions or services that you want to engage in, and trying to be an expert in your field and not jumping into things. One way of doing this is by having a mentor, looking up to somebody who has already succeeded in generating wealth or who has succeeded in that field is a very good way of learning. You can sit with a mentor and as someone that is a predecessor in that area. I think this would also be very helpful. If you don't have anybody like this, you can actually just read a book on wealth creation, and this will be very helpful, right? So please have the right intention and then understand the halal and haram of business transactions and have a mentor for wealth creation. And inshallah, this will be beneficial.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Halima Ahmad, researcher and trainer with the Dawah Institute. On this program, Knowing the Dawah Institute, I would be introducing you to the different activities of the Institute. What does it stand for? What does it seek to achieve? And how does it carry out its activities? Do come along with me. Joining me to discuss the activities of the Dawah Institute is the Registrar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When was the Dawah Institute founded and what are its missions?
The Dawah Institute was founded on Thursday 16th November 1969. It's as old as the organization itself. Because when the Islamic Education Trust was founded, it has two major areas of focus, and that is education and da'wah. The mission of the Dawah Institute is the capacity building and empowerment of Islamic organizations and individuals involved in da'wah.
So how many units does the Dawah Institute have, and what are the core functions of these various units?
The Dawah Institute has 4 units: the Research and Training Unit, the Dawah Grassroots DGP, the Media Unit, and the Admin and HR. The admin and HR, of course, serves the responsibility of coordinating the entire units to ensure that things work smoothly.
So there's a synergy between the different units.
Yeah.
Inshallah, we'll be meeting with the heads of the various units to know more about what the individual unit does.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ndako Mijidadi. I am the head of investments at Lotus Capital Limited. So this is our financial intelligence series. So what we're trying to discuss today is the financial ecosystem. We're trying to discuss or educate each other about how the entire financial system works or what it's composed of. Now, it's a very developed area, finance, and it's very possible that sometimes it can appear a bit broad and daunting. What I hope that I can do today is give us a very simple system to understanding how the entire ecosystem is constructed. Now, there are 3 components of the financial ecosystem. One is financial institutions. And for example, I can tell you, so financial institutions are like banks, stockbroking companies, asset management companies, insurance companies. These are all institutions. The second component is instruments. Instruments are simply products. What do these institutions sell to us? Do they sell us current accounts? Do they sell us equities? Do they sell us bonds and things like this? And then the next is markets, financial markets. And financial markets are simply how all these products come together. Who are the regulators in this ecosystem, right? So like I mentioned, there are 3 components of the ecosystem: institutions, products or instruments, and then the market. Right? Once we have this at the back of our mind, we can understand everything there is to know about the financial ecosystem. And why is this useful? So say for instance, you went to meet a tailor, and the tailor said, and you know a tailor is meant to be somebody who sews clothes, and belongs to maybe a tailor's association or things like that. And the tailor told you that, why don't you deposit your money with me and I'll give you an ATM card? Automatically that tells you that's not the function of a tailor. Because you know that a bank is one who does XYZ, and these type of products belong to a bank, and the bank is meant to be regulated, you can easily tell the tailor, I'm not going to do that. Okay? So understanding the financial ecosystem is very important so people don't get misguided. It's important that I also mention something called Ponzi schemes. It's a very unfortunate phenomena. It's also very popular. Sometimes they're referred to as pyramid schemes. And pyramid schemes, if you know what a pyramid looks like, it's just like a triangle, right? And how do Ponzi schemes work? And why are they so dangerous? And why should they be avoided? Now, in a Ponzi scheme, there are certain people who are the people at the top of the scheme. What they do is that they promise other people ridiculous and fantastic returns or fantastic money, right? And in exchange, all these people have to do is give them their wealth and then get others to transfer money back to them. So what you would find is somebody will say, oh, be part of this scheme, right? And you make a lot of money, but you have to go and tell your friends to also be part of this schemes and give you money. And then they also have to go and tell their friends to be part of the scheme and then give them money. And then the scheme keeps going on and on and on. And it gets to a point where there are so many people in this pyramid or Ponzi scheme that they're not able to sustain it anymore and the scheme collapses. Now, it's very important that if we understand how a real financial system works, if somebody walked up to us and promised us a ridiculous return on investment, we can simply ask him, what is your institution? What is your product? Who is your regulator? How exactly are you going to give me these fantastic returns? And if you see any element that says, oh no, you need to bring this person and that person and that person, it should trigger a red flag in your head. It's probably a Ponzi scheme and we should stay away from it. So very important, we understand how the financial ecosystem works. We have mentioned that there are 3 components of it. Understand the institutions and what they do, understand the products, what they sell, and understand the market to see how they're organized and who their regulators are. If you're able to do this and have this strong understanding, you're very likely to have a very smooth journey in wealth creation. Right. So once we're able to have a very good understanding of the financial ecosystem, I think we have a very good background to start talking about the techniques of financial intelligence. How do you become financial intelligent, and what do you do to be considered someone that is financially intelligent? There are a few things, right? At the top of this is that you should be somebody who can plan. You should be able to plan before you even have any money, right? And sometimes they say more money, more problems. That would be true if you didn't have a plan before you had the money. But if you had a plan and then the money came, you'd easily be able to put money where it belongs, right? And you're less likely to be wasteful. So have a plan. Have an objective for yourself. What do you need money for, right? It's very good to write these things down, quantify them, measure them. Think about when you're going to need to spend money on those things. And if you're able to do that in an organized and very good manner, whenever this money comes, you'd be able to deploy it effectively. So the first thing, the first skill to have in being financially intelligent is to be a good planner, right? Now, the second thing is to have a good ability to keep records. Right? Now, as Muslims, this should come as second nature to us, because we're advised that whenever you take, for instance, a debt, you call witnesses and you record it. This is part of our etiquette as Muslims. So keeping records is very good. And why are records so important? If you have a record of how you typically spend money, how you typically earn money, you begin to see a pattern that can enable you plan better for the future. So you can know that, oh look, in March, every March, I happen to spend X amount of money. So maybe in February, and I know that a particular expense is coming in March, I can plan ahead. This can only happen if you've been able to keep accurate records. So the first thing I had said was have good plans, be a good planner even before you make money, and then have good record keeping skills. Now, the third thing is to have a culture of saving, right? Don't always make money and spend everything that you make. It's important to always keep a little amount, no matter how small, for eventualities in the future. And one very good story that always comes to my mind when I advise people to have savings is the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Now in this story, and it's one of the best stories Allah has told us, and in this story, what we see is there was a period of abundance of about 7 years and a period of drought for another 7 years. And the only reason they were able to get through the entire period was because they took advantage of the period where they had abundance and they were able to save some of their abundance and move that to the period where there was scarcity. So as Muslims, we should have this culture of saving, right? Have a culture of saving. Whenever you do come into wealth, do not spend everything that you have. Plan for a time when you might not have as much, okay? So the first thing we've said is be a good planner, right? Keep good records and have a good culture of savings. Now, the fourth thing in being financially intelligent is to spend your money on assets, not liabilities. Now, I'm sorry I'm using big terminology, but I'll give you an example of what a liability can be and what an asset can be. So say, for instance, I came into money today and immediately I bought a brand new car, right? Automatically, that car is going to need to be serviced. I'm going to need to buy petrol. I'm going to need to take care of that car. So it's going to consume more and more of my resources. I can, in a sense, say that that car has become a type of liability for me. On the other hand, if I came into money and I bought a house and I put it on rent, I could potentially be making rental income. that property has in a sense become an asset for me. So whenever we do come into money, it's important that we prioritize spending our money on things that are assets that can continue to benefit us, as opposed to spending our money on things that are liabilities that could potentially continue to take money out of us. Okay? So that's the fourth thing. Now the fifth thing, it's advisable not to put all your wealth when you do make it into one place. And this is because anything can happen. It's just part of being prudent or being smart to separate your wealth. Have different businesses, have different kinds of currency. So I'll give you an example. Imagine if you had an opportunity to have some of your wealth in Naira and some of your wealth in dollars. And something was to happen to the value of the Naira tomorrow. At least you will have protected some of your wealth because it's already saved in dollars, right? So don't put all your money in one place. Don't have only one type of source of income, right? Have different sources of income and have different kinds of investments and assets. And then the last thing, in terms of the skills of being financially intelligent, is to trust in Allah. Know that making money evidently, intrinsically, is a spiritual journey. And use some of the tools that we have been taught spiritually to make money. One of those is having good trust in Allah, making a lot of istighfar. Make a lot of istighfar. Connect your family ties. Do good deeds. These things would give you barakah, inshallah. And all the other things that we have said with the spiritual element in it, inshallah, you'll be able to create good wealth. May Allah make this beneficial. Jazakumullah khair.